it, you know?
Yeah. And since being out, have you suffered from like any Stockholm syndrome of being there with those guys and working on that stuff?
No, not really. For me, I'm looking at Mariupol. We never got a chance to process Mariupol. We lost 60% of our platoon. You know, we lost our BTRs. Friends of mine died. Mariupol was a real bun fight, if you know what I mean. We'd got a mixture of guys, and this was going to be their first conflict. So for me, on my ninth war tour, I was quite seasoned in that respect. And I remember having a conversation with my platoon commander saying, I think ignorance is bliss, because the guys hadn't really understood that they were working to completely surround us. And I was saying to him, I don't know how we're going to get out of this. And he just said to me, all I want to see is my wife again. And I was like, where are we going to go? He went, anywhere's better than here. You know, and this was our position at Ilachar at the steelworks in Mariupol. We just get pounded and pounded and pounded by, you know, planes, mortars, artillery, everything that was coming, SPG rockets. We had a helicopter at one point come in, Russian helicopter firing. We had excursion by recce. Their recce units were coming in, so we had to fend off them whenever they came in. You know, major firefights with enemy that's like 15, 20 meters away. And then towards the end, it was getting more like Saving Private Ryan. You know, the tanks are coming in through the walls, and it was just becoming just what you see in the films. You know, that's the only way I could describe it. It was just, you know, tanks were blowing holes in walls to make room so they can get their guys. The Russians could get their guys through to new areas. It was just crazy. In the end, they just give us, Zelensky obviously said you could surrender, and we opted to try and escape and evade and get out through the first lines. And then I was captured about 2 hours outside Mariupol. Tried not to surrender, but really, we were up against it. We hadn't had food for 2 weeks. We had probably about a 200-kilometer tab to friendly lines. And then you have to get through all the Russian lines before that, get out of Mariupol. We were up against it from the word go, and I just got captured about 2 hours outside Mariupol, which 2 hours walk. It wasn't probably 2 hours. I was sort of zigzagging and diving in buildings, but about 2 hours later, after the evacuation, I got captured in a building just outside of Mariupol, Ilachar.
So you gave it a shot. You didn't surrender as far as, yep, okay, on this date we're all going out. Put our hands up. You tried the, you know,
yeah, we
great
all
escape.
soon tried to get out. There was a decision made. You could either surrender and try and surrender and then take your chances, or you could try and E out. And my platoon commander wanted us to get to a position about 130 kilometers outside of Mariupol. We went for it. So they were captured, but we got ambushed on the way out on the extraction. There was a lot of casualties, and the platoon got split up, and I was left with some casualties and a medic. And we found more casualties on the route. And one of the hardest decisions I had to make was to sort of say to her that I'm going to leave because I'm British. I can't get caught. The casualties were they were never going to make it. They were just couldn't walk. One guy on a stretcher. And I knew the medic was there and she would look after them. But I had to sit there and try and go once around a perimeter to try and find food and water, because we had no food and water for 2 weeks. We were running on empty anyway. We were just eating bags of sugar and drinking what water we could find anywhere. So it was pretty bad at that point. So I knew I had to do like a 200-kilometer tab, E&E, running on empty. I was always going to be up against it. But they actually caught me looking for food in a building just outside Mariupol, I was trying to find some food for myself, and I left the guys back in Mariupol. But I tried to get out. But by that time, I'd lost my platoon, and they got captured not far from me, to be honest. I met them later in the prison.
All right.
Yeah, so one or two of them there. But my commander was released with me, so I was pretty happy. But we still don't know who's dead, who's alive, who's captured, really, because we got brought to the UK. So one of my biggest regrets is I didn't come back with the guys I was working with. Part of the deal I think, was to bring us back to Saudi and then Saudi home, so it's back to Britain. So not much I can do about that, but yeah, I'm having some sort of chats with authorities and people about that, even though I don't think there's much wrong. Sleep like a baby, and I'm pretty good at the moment.
But, and how did it go?
These can materialise later on,
yeah.
you know. As you know, they can materialise later on. So
of course,
better to be safe than sorry, you know.
Yeah, of course. And how did that go when you got captured? When they finally got you? Can you just run us through how that sort of scenario happened while you're looking for food?
It's single most scariest thing ever in my life ever. I knew from training, I'd done SEER and stuff, and I knew from my training that the first part would be the most dangerous part, and were they right? You know, it's first of all, I've got a guy who looks more scared than me, a young Russian or DPR guy who's just eyes wide. He's thinking, what the hell have I got there? I'd said in Russian, I'm English, don't shoot, which already got them aware who I was. And then they were pretty much looking for me. But these guys specifically weren't, they had no idea. But they were straight on the phone to the command who took me to their commander, who then pretty much sort of said, who are you? Took all the details off me. And then these lovely boys came